All right, August 5th from Justin to Cully. Justin, you're here. Quantum Week, Chris, sticking with us. Appreciate it, Chris.
Absolutely.
Thank you for hanging around. All right, today's show, another kind of, what'd you get that you listed yesterday, Chris? Like casual vibe yesterday, casual vibe today?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost always a casual. When is it not a casual vibe?
Well, I guess it's kind of like
more fun, more than casual, I'd say.
I don't want to say that the other shows aren't fun, but it's like a smooth, like conversational transition into one thing to another, right?
Well, it's easy. I know, like my first time I came on, it's hard because you just don't want to get in the way. You don't know when to kind of jump in. Like that first time, I was especially the first hour. You just kind of like just trying to figure out where you're
are. You're talking about way back.
Yeah, back in December, and it is difficult to know when to jump. I mean, Kirk's so good at allowing people to kind of jump in and jump out, but you also don't want to overplay your hand. It is a struggle, and, you don't
want to do what I did with Ryan Whitney.
Right, exactly. Right. Yes.
Yeah. I was going to ask you the difference that you felt today between today and last week, because last week you were on, and I think we did like, what did you guys think? We did like 7 phone calls. It felt like it was very busy with Barstool, right? So the difference between today, which had no calls, no guests or anything like that, like what was the difference for you? Well,
it helped having Kirk on Quantum Week, just because it's only been the 3 of us, and we're talking a lot. There aren't other calls to come in. There isn't, and you're talking about one single point.
Yep.
So because of that, I'm at least, I guess, maybe more used than somebody else who's never done it to have that conversation with Kirk, if that makes any sense.
Yep, definitely.
But no, I mean, just it's repetition. It's like anything. The more you do something, hopefully, the easier it gets. And I'm not saying this is by any means easy or not daunting at all, but it feels more familiar.
Yes. Now, I think one of the things, and today's a good example of that, what we want to do with this wrap up, or from Justin and Cully, whatever the hell we're calling it, but we want to try to provide a glimpse to the behind the scenes stuff at the Kirkman and Show, even though there's not a lot, unfortunately, just because we mentioned at the end of the show, Justin shows up at 8. I'm here. We're doing our thing. But you came in this morning, and we talked about the tweet that Kirk mentioned, right? We talked about it a little bit on the show, but we started talking about that question of how do you show Kirk gratitude? And we were kind of like working through that, the 3 of us, before the show in some like small, not like literally, but you know what I mean? Like, and then you got the opportunity to actually ask him that question. Did it play out the way that was going in your head, kind of?
Well, I mean, I was thinking about it since yesterday. He sends a tweet out, and I'm like, well, and I told him to his face, like, that was kind of a crazy tweet. But, but I'm thinking, like, actually, maybe it's not. There are similarities. Maybe, he has done so much for our show, and we would have a tiny fraction of the audience if it wasn't for Kirk, having confidence to have Matt come in, having Matt produce 25 of his shows. He's talked about our show a bunch. He came on our show. We had like 10 episodes. He went on again. I mean, like, he's been such a huge reason our show has, I don't want to say success, but has as many listeners as it does.
Yeah, you were number 48 on the charts the other day, right? For shows,
exactly.
Right?
I mean, but I mean, Kirk has had a huge impact, the biggest impact of our show. And it's like, I kind of go back and forth, because you want to thank the guy, but then it's like, the guy wants to be left alone. It seems like I don't want to bother him or annoy him, because he's, if he's doing me a favor, I don't want to
he has a good read. Like he knows who is appreciative of the help that he gives and stuff. Like, what would you say, Justin? I think I have like 7,000 followers on Twitter. What would you say? Like 1 or 2 I could attribute to Kirk? Like, do you think that's a fair number?
1 or 2,000?
No, 1 or 2. Like literally 1 or 2. No. This joke is not hitting, unfortunately.
That's
this joke is not hitting. It's all right. Yes. Everything I think the 3 of us can say, like, it's all coming from him. Yes. He knows we're appreciative of it. He knows that, hopefully we somehow provide value back to him in some way. You were here today, right? You filmed
but I mean, it's fun, but it's also, it helps me promote my show too, being here, obviously. And then, also it's just, I mean, it's so bizarre. Like, I'm a fan of this show. I've been listening to the show for years. And, to be on it is just, it's so bizarre. It's very strange.
Yes.
It's incredibly cool. It's like, but it's also incredibly bizarre.
Yeah, well, you kind of, is it all right to go there? You kind of opened up before the show and saying, like, what this show meant to you as a fan, and then to your point of what you're just saying, like, then to come in here, you opened up a little bit before the show about that.
Yeah, I know. I've said it before, and I think I like Kirk and off or whatever, but I've said it, I went through a divorce, and times it's just me and my dog in this basement apartment, this pathetic existence, and it's like, oh, what's a good distraction? Oh, I'll go back and listen, because I was in New York, I didn't listen to Kirk. So I came back home in 2016, and there's all those Enough About Me's to listen to, and there's all this old, I had no idea he had that fight with Lenny Dykstra. So there's all this stuff to kind of go back to, and it kept me entertained, kept me distracted during a really low point in my life. I'm guessing everyone watching this or listening, if they've been listening to Kirk for 5 years, have had a low point, except for Justin.
And
and who's living the dream. But
highly medicated.
Right, of course. No, but like, everyone's had that tough time, and it's like, oh, all right, it's a nice distraction.
Yes.
So, and I think that's the other, he's asked, like, he asked today, he's like, why does my show like open it up to these fans kind of being, crazier than a normal fan base? And I just think it's because he's so honest, and that, it does make him feel more familiar. I think we all probably feel more familiar. And then you have the live shows, and
well, we also live in it's a different little universe on Twitter, right?
It is.
Twitter, we react, the three of us react to Twitter and what goes on. Like, it's common for us because we're in that world. Like yesterday was an example, right? People on Twitter were talking about, even though he talked about Mancock for literally what felt like 30 seconds. It was very quick. But the buzz that I saw around what he said about Mancock on Twitter was almost more than, I'm trying to think of what the topics were yesterday, but that's what I saw, like the takeaway in the Twitterverse. The people who were just listening, whether it be, maybe they're on Facebook, maybe they're on Instagram, like they're not thinking about that today. Right?
No, probably not. But then again, I remember I was a fan. I didn't have a huge presence on Twitter. I still would you kind of hang on every word. You just listen, you enjoy the show. I mean, and if you're really passionate with the show, you're going to listen to it really intently. It's not just background noise.
Yep.
Like I think no one listens to Kirk Minahan show like in the background. They listen to it because they're really committed to the show. They really love the show.
Yep. Well, I don't know how to. I was trying to think of a correlation between the Mancock situation. That's not coming to me. But we can go back into topics.
Great segue.
Yeah, there you go.
You're having a hell of a night.
That's why. Yeah, today was a weird show. I don't think I was sensitive today. By the way,
you were very sensitive.
Yeah, but it's not sensitive in the sense of losing sleep. Like when you're chirping back and forth with someone that you really don't have a problem with, and it becomes a nuisance, but you don't want. Like, you don't want to take it personal. Do you kind of get what I'm going with that some extent?
I think you're talking about the stuff on Twitter. I think Kirk was calling you sensitive about, like, I should have just texted Jerry this today.
Oh, but I knew he was joking, but also, does it make you second guess whether or not you're going to play audio from the mayor of Boston or something like that?
All right, what else?
What'd you think of did you see the Boston mayor comparing vaccine papers to slavery the other day?
I did see that. Was that Kim Janey?
By the way, I'm kind of nervous to bring that up to you because you think I should send these to Jerry.
Davis, you're more sensitive than Mike.
Unbelievable. I'm not sensitive about it. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
What is wrong with you today? What the fuck got in your ass?
I'm just telling you, that's an unbelievable reply to a text message on just tossing
you sent me such a boring idea.
Oh, I'm sorry that I tossed you an idea.
Imagine if you tweeted
it's an idea. It's a content idea.
I responded to it. You tell me you don't want, then I respond.
Yeah, that's probably that's probably normal for somebody to feel like that, I would think. No?
I think some people do struggle with some of the negative elements of this world potentially, but I do remember a Dave Cullinane tweet at my friend Matt Carano, who you kind of lectured him and you said, "Hey, I use Twitter differently than you do."
Sure.
But I think maybe he was going through some of those same.
First of all, if you're saying that I'm the one who lectured in that situation, that is absurd.
Two great lecturing producers going back and forth with each other is what you got there.
Yeah, sure.
But you have that. I think there's always kind of those bumps. Just dealing with. Negative. Maybe you got up on the wrong side of the bed yesterday and just didn't want to deal with it.
No, but that was a one-to-one thing. Do you know? It wasn't like if there's just people that are going to come on and be like, Dave sucks, Steve's better. I don't give a shit about that. Like
right.
That stuff's fine. This was like literally a person. It's like a one-to-one relationship thing that I'm just trying to figure out. Like, okay, these people. I don't judge people for shitting on the show whether they do it or not, because I'll interact with them and still laugh with them about some other shit on Twitter or whatever. It's when then they go into their hate the show mode and use me as that resource to go at it. It's a very strange thing to learn. That's all. And it is what it is, and it's fine. I'm not going to lose sleep over it, but it's just strange. I don't think that makes me sensitive.
No, not at all, Dave. You're not sensitive at all. You didn't at all prove my point.
I didn't. I'm just saying. All right, whatever. I guess if I'm sensitive, I'll deal with it, but I'm not losing sleep over it. Is that fair? Like, is that okay?
You're not losing sleep over it. You can still be sensitive and not lose sleep.
Okay. All right.
Those two things can both be true.
All right. What do we talk about today, guys? We talked about the Jeff Nadeau and Rico Bosco thing just very quickly because it's just we got to wait it out till Monday where Nadeau will be on Pick Central.
So Rico Bosco, who I think is part of my trivia team.
Yes.
Is I don't know what's so I have to, like, Rico called Jeff Nadeau like a racist and like something about women or something.
Yeah,
right?
you want to hear his cut from this is on Portnoy's show.
I guess this is very confusing to me.
You're bringing people off the streets. No.
What if you just cancel it? What if you cancel it?
But you look at your side. What's next?
Hey,
You're gonna bring
cancel
fucking
it.
Bill Cosby in to do a fucking Guest episode?
Cancel Monday.
Rico Bosco will obviously not be there, but I don't know. He definitely needs to answer for calling to do a racist. Wouldn't you say, Justin?
Rico's on there today. He might have. I'm sure I would have saw something on Twitter if Jeff Nadeau called in or they talked about it, or maybe it was just a normal.
Nobody sets the tone like Rico Bosco. Like he literally is saying, you cannot talk about, like, collaborate with, interact with these certain people. Yeah, or he'll quit, and he actually will, right? Like, don't you think if he gets pissed off enough, he might not show up?
Yes, he would just quit. I mean, it's kind of like as if Kirk was just like, yeah, if this person comes on the show, he'll just leave.
Yep.
But imagine if Kirk wasn't like the #1 guy on the Kirk Minahan show. It'd be like if Mike said, like, if Dave Cullinane is producer, I'm just going to leave. And then as soon as you walked in, he would just get up and leave.
Well, I hope that Rico answers Nadeau's questions, but then I hope somehow we figure it out, because Rico is absolutely, like, he's one of the funniest guys you can consume at Barstool.
I guess I don't really like the go-to of, like, oh, I'm not going to talk to that person. Like,
no, I don't love that.
Like, how does that help with content? Like, you should have the back and forth. That's what's interesting.
But in fact, like, I guess I can just. I don't know the full background, so maybe they did have some blowout, and he's like, just fucking, I'm over it with this guy.
I'm sure they did, but
done.
still have the conversation. Like, just to claim up like that is,
well, use the Kirk situation, right? Like, look at, like, Julie DeCaro writes a book and calls him a racist, and then it has no examples and nothing. Here's a guy who goes on a podcast, calls a guy a racist. He doesn't say why, he doesn't say anything. He should have to explain himself. And, like, like, credit to Nadeau for fighting back and making sure he gets the answers that he's looking for.
I agree. I mean, I'm not a big Barstool guy, but I mean, I'm team Nadeau on this one until I'm shown otherwise.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that plays out. Besides that, it was kind of like a hodgepodge of stories, a lot of entertainment stories. We got Louis C.K. returning from, coming back to the comedy world. We did a little bit. We didn't, like, go too much into it, but I did think that wrestling promo was funny, so I sent it to him.
It was very strange.
It was very strange. It was broadcast live on YouTube, and then they edited it and put it back. It's like an after dark show that they do. But in today's world, like, literally the whole world was buzzing about Simone Biles' mental health. I don't think you should do that. You probably shouldn't be joking about Duke Lacrosse. And then, just talking about the smell of a coworker who's significantly younger than you, her area, let's say that. Like, there was a lot of inappropriate things to that, I would say.
Would you say her downstairs area?
Her downstairs area. Oh, I forgot about it.
It also is, I mean, it is wrestling. This isn't like some guy just walking into the office being like, yeah, Samantha's fucking vag reeks today.
That is true. That is true. It is a performance at the end of the day. So, all right, anything else we missed? There, like I said, there was kind of like a hodgepodge.
I mean, Dave, you seem really rattled about the production of the show next week. You seem the quality of the show is very, very, very bad next week.
I'm not rattled by it. I know that they were using, like, live to tape software to record it. So when they did, they were using StreamYard to record it when they were remote before, and there wasn't a need to do it if you weren't broadcasting live to YouTube or anything like that.
But alas,
now we're broadcasting live. So my brain is saying, all right, how do we get rid of the list? The problem is, like, Kirk doesn't bring technology with him. Like, he's just bringing a phone or an iPad. I asked him, like, will you bring a laptop? No. So it's just, he's bringing what he normally does. So you don't have a lot of resources to work with. So I would prefer to give the listeners the best experience possible. So I will work through mentally how to pull that off with basically headphones out of an iPhone.
I think there's only one solution to this problem, and that's Justin's going to Iowa.
Yes, I think Justin. Yeah, what do you say? What do you think about that?
I said I would go to Iowa, but I mean,
why didn't you bring it up? Why didn't you bring it up on today's show when it came back?
Because it's been brought up like 3 different times.
Yeah, but that was the angle. Now it's live. Now it's even more. It's like more important. It's more significant.
So Kirk would have said even more no.
We'll text him right now. Let's see what he says. Why don't you give him a text?
I'm not going to text him.
Well, he said he wants to talk to you more. He says he doesn't.
Yeah, we talk all the time.
So
but
why don't we call him and you can talk to him and talk through this?
I'm not going to call him and be like, hey, so I know the whole thing is like a joke and everything, but like, do you like actually want me to come to Iowa?
Justin, you're absolutely right, and this is why you and Kirk have those communications, because Dave doesn't have to deal with
Dave wouldn't understand.
Dave's,
I don't have any communication.
No,
with Kirk
we'll be talking about this
Kirk?
later.
No, I can't. I don't blame him whatsoever, especially. So, all right, that's about it. That'll do it from Justin to Cully. We will talk to you again I guess we'll talk to you for this show on Monday. Justin, you're thinking sometime over the weekend you'll post the look ahead?
Probably, because I mean there'll be more stories and things to talk about.
Justin, when's Justin in the Minute Fan? When is there going to be a Saturday night show ever again?
I can't do Saturday nights. Justin, you don't want to do Saturday nights, right?
Like, am I just going to do a wrap? Kirk, I mean, we have enough wrap-up shows.
Yeah, I like the idea of taking calls like from Minifans one after another, but the Saturday night thing's tough for me with kids.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was going to be something on the weekend. You know, like we had, I guess before the recap shows, we had Mike and the Minifans. It was something that kind of, I don't know, people would watch it. Well, you know, I know, like maybe Saturday night you're busy, but you could watch it Sunday. It was just a fun way to kind of get through the weekend.
I would love to have it. I just, and I wouldn't mind doing it. I just think, you know, and Justin, you probably don't want to do it alone, right?
Like just me by myself talking
yeah,
for
like
2
Justin
hours?
and the Minifans. No, just like setting up callers, basically, like taking call after call after call.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's something to think about.
It's just something that we don't need another recap show.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, that's true. All right, well, Chris, what is it? Patreon.com/
Quantum_week, and we got Wayne's World on Saturday.
Wayne's World on Saturday. Love it. That's the free show, right?
That's correct.
But make sure subscribe if you're interested, and yeah, that's about it. We'll talk to you Monday.
Bye.